10 bitter conflicts fought over seafood. However long people have been fishing to take care of themselves, they have additionally been battling about admittance to the best catch. While we don't have any records of Stone Age men slamming each other's cerebrums and over who gets the greatest trout, there's a long history of severe clash in the fishing business. This rundown covers a portion of the occasions that pressure between anglers emitted into riots, global occurrences, and all-out furnished struggle. Number 10. Clam Wars 1865 to 1959. The Oyster Wars started after the American Civil War with a blast in the Chesapeake Bay clam industry. Chesapeake clam towns turned into an outskirts rushed by fortune searchers. Viciousness before long ejected among local people and fresh debuts, and when local people ran out of new pilgrims to take shots at, they turned on one another. Gunfire was traded among Maryland and Virginia watermen, and inside the states between anglers from various areas. It wasn't well before the public authority started to mediate in these fishing quarrels, making the Maryland Shellfish Navy a nautical police power that was famously incapable. In 1882, Virginia's lead representative William Cameron sent a state army to hold on to 7 boats associated with unlawful clam digging in the Rappahannock River. Vicious conflicts over clam and area proceeded until 1959, when Maryland patrollers lethally shot a Virginian waterman named Berkeley Muse to keep away from additional carnage. The two states marked a reduced intended to end the very long-term struggle. Number 9. Pilgrims, the Dutch eel riot 1886. One of the most loved side interests in 19th century Amsterdam was known as eel pulling, paling trekken. A rope was extended across a trench with a live eel tied in the center. Men would then journey underneath the eel rope in little boats and endeavor to pull the tricky fish free. He who liberated the eel got a prize of 6 guilders, which was fair strolling around cash in those days. The game was unlawful by the 1880s, however that didn't stop its popularity. On July 25, 1886, an exuberant meeting of paling trekken was in progress on the Lindegracht Canal. They had effectively pulled multiple times when the police appeared and requested a stop to the scene, going into one of the houses where the ropes were attached to release the eel. The legend says that the falling rope hit an observer, who began whacking the police with an umbrella. Very quickly, an out-and-out revolt broke out, with observers tossing blocks at police. Things chilled off for the time being. Yet the following day the military started shooting at agitators raging the police headquarters. 26 regular citizens were executed and 32 were seriously harmed, making the Pilgrims quite possibly the most extreme instances of police fierceness in Dutch history. Number 8. Newlyn Mackerel Riots 1896. Newlyn is a coastline town in western England with a long history as a fishing port. In the late 19th century, most Newlyn anglers were stringently strict and would not work on the Sabbath. In any case, they needed to impart their waters to huge fishing organizations from the east shoreline of England, who were totally fine with fishing on Sundays. This implied the eastern boats could put up their catch for sale to the public on Monday, which let them sell at a lot greater costs. Disdain among perceptive Newlyn anglers bubbled over in May of 1896 when Tuesday costs dropped as low as 3 shillings for 120 mackerel. On May 18, a horde of tired anglers boarded boats from the east and threw a great many mackerels back into the ocean. The shock spread to other Cornish fishing networks, some of whom likewise assaulted eastern boats and raised boundaries to forestall admittance to their harbors. In the end, the nearby specialists brought in the military to subdue the agitators, who tossed stones at the specialists yet in the long run settled down, leaving the eastern organizations to keep fishing on Sundays. Number 7. Cod Wars 1415 to 1976. Cod is maybe quite possibly the most monetarily significant fish ever, so it's nothing unexpected that nations have battled about the option to reap it. The cod wars between the United Kingdom and Iceland are positively the longest enduring passage on this rundown. with antiquarians guaranteeing upwards of 10 separate scenes traversing a few centuries. The principal cod war began in 1415 with English specialists capturing a Danish authority in Iceland, which was then the area of Denmark. This contention brought about a settlement arrangement that was arranged and rehaggled between the two nations for quite a long time, with each sitting tight for political flimsiness and the other to recapture control over the cod trade. There were 3 cod wars in the 20th century, generally including cautioning shots, cutting of nets, and slamming of boats. Despite the fact that the two nations' boats traded minor blows, there were just 2 setbacks recorded in the cutting-edge cod wars: the unintentional passings of a British angler and an Icelandic designer. It is for the most part concurred that Iceland was the victor of the cod wars, with the subsequent settlement arrangements adequately finishing British significant distance fishing. Number 6. Lobster War, 1961 to 1964. Do lobsters creep or swim? This was the focal inquiry in the supposed lobster war among France and Brazil in the mid-1960s. Brazilian specialists demanded that sharp lobsters creep along the mainland rack of their region, while French anglers guaranteed they swam like fish, making them reasonable game for any nation to reap. After protests of French boats getting lobster off the shoreline of Pernambuco, the Brazilian president allowed France 48 hours to pull out all boats. At the point when they denied, the Brazilian Navy caught a French vessel and shut off admittance to all French boats off their coast. The following year, Brazil held on to 3 more French vessels. This touched off a worldwide occurrence that was not settled until 1964. When the nations to arrive at an understanding that extended Brazil's regional waters yet permitted restricted French lobster fishing. No blood was shed. However, the country's particular scholars kept discussing whether lobsters creep or swim for a long time after. Number 5. Galveston Bay Shrimp Conflict, 1979 to 1981. After the Vietnam War, a few outcasts of escaping Southeast Asia got comfortable the Galveston Bay space of Texas and secured positions on shrimp boats. The development of the outcast shrimper populace upset neighborhood white shrimpers, who considered them to be contest for the restricted assets of the Narrows. The pressures went to brutality in 1979, when a fistfight brought about the shooting of a white crabber and the consuming of a few Vietnamese boats. This continuous ethnic struggle brought the Texas Knights of the Ku Klux Klan to Galveston in 1981, where they started threatening Vietnamese shrimpers with furnished shows on and off the water. Many racial oppressors straightforwardly undermined savagery against the Vietnamese shrimpers, waving guns and revolving around their boats in paramilitary gear. A coming-about provocation preliminary brought by the Southern Poverty Law Center uncovered a video of KKK pioneer Louis B. merging his state army to absolutely obliterate everyone. The claim finished the badgering and disbanded the paramilitary gatherings. Yet by then numerous Vietnamese shrimpers had effectively moved away or endured property harm. This episode was the motivation for the 1985 film Alamo Bay. Shaft and his devotees proceeded to execute radical viciousness in different pieces of the nation, laying the basis for contemporary racial oppressor bunches that actually compromise savagery against minority networks today. Number 4. Turbot War, 1995. In 1995, the Canadian Coast Guard held onto the Spanish fishing boat Este, which was fishing in worldwide waters off the shoreline of Newfoundland. Canadian specialists asserted the Spanish vessel had surpassed its standard of Greenland turbot, a silly-looking flatfish that goes extraordinary with spread and escapades. In spite of the EU denouncing the seizure as a demonstration of coordinated theft, Canadian vessels removed the nets of 3 more Spanish and Portuguese fishing boats before very long. Strains expanded, and Spain even sent a warship to ensure its fishing vessels. In the end, Canada agreed with the EU that finished the contention by fortifying fishing requirement and expanding Spain's turbot standard. Nobody welcomed the turbots to the arranging table. Simply the supper table. Number 3. Extraordinary Scallop War 2012 to 2020. In October 2012, a gathering of around 40 French vessels encompassed a couple of British fishing boats off the bank of France. French anglers were disturbed that their nation denied them from collecting scallops among May and October, while British anglers could fish all year. As per the British anglers, the French vessels tossed stones and nets at the British boats, alongside French insults deserving of any Monty Python sketch. Regardless of the best endeavors of the two nations, viciousness erupted among British and French scallop anglers again in 2018 and 2020. Alongside rocks, the French anglers were blamed for tossing searing skillet, flares, fuel bombs, and oil at their British opponents. Nothing but toxicity between these neighbors. Number 2. Guangdashing Number 28 Incident 2013. The truth about the Taiwanese fishing boat shooting. Apple Daily on May 9, 2013. A Filipino Coast Guard watch boat started shooting at an unarmed Taiwanese boat, the Guangdashing Number 28, which was fishing in questioned waters between the two island countries. The Coast Watch gunfire hit the little vessel in any event multiple times, bringing about the demise of 65-year-old angler Ho Shi Cheng. This episode was a flashpoint in the contention between the two nations, whose regional cases cover in the waters where the boat was shot. Showings happened in the two nations after the shooting, including a Filipino ex-police officer freely consuming a Taiwanese banner to send the message that Filipinos are not weaklings. Relations between the two countries have since standardized, and the 8 Coast Watch representatives who submitted the shooting were sentenced in 2019. Number 1. Nova Scotia Micmac Lobster Dispute 2020. The latest section in this rundown is the Micmac Lobster Dispute, which presently can't seem to arrive at a goal. As per a 1999 Canadian Supreme Court choice, individuals from the Micmac Indigenous clan reserve the option to fish on a limited scale at whatever point in any place they need. In September 2020, the Sipekneekatik First Nation opened a little lobster fishery in Nova Scotia, which was immediately scrutinized by non-Indigenous anglers for working outside of the business season. In October, a few hordes of non-Indigenous anglers laid attack to Indigenous-possessed lobster offices in Nova Scotia, tossing rocks, breaking windows, and taking steps to set the whole put ablaze if the workers inside didn't leave. One office was caught fire and the excess live lobsters harmed with PVC concrete. Canadian authorities called for harmony in the wake of the viciousness in Nova Scotia. However, pressures stay intense among Indigenous and non-Indigenous anglers. Thanks for watching. World Top 10 channel. Subscribe now.